Welcome, chosen ones. If you are here, it is not by accident. Something deep within you is seeking truth, searching for a greater understanding of faith, and longing for an inner peace that cannot be shaken. You are here because you are ready to explore the depths of spiritual thinking, to awaken to a faith that transforms, and to discover the unshakable power of inner peace. This is a journey that will challenge the way you see the world, the way you respond to life's trials, and the way you embrace your own faith. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what we are about to explore has the potential to shift your perspective and strengthen your spirit in ways you never imagined. Life is full of chaos and uncertainty. Every day we are faced with struggles, disappointments, and unexpected challenges. It can feel as if we are being tossed in the middle of a storm, constantly reacting to whatever comes our way. But is it possible to live without being controlled by the circumstances around us? Is it possible to remain steady and unshaken, no matter what happens? The answer is yes. Each of us has the ability to cultivate a deep and immovable inner peace, a peace that is not dependent on what is happening outside of us, but is rooted in something much greater. This peace is not about avoiding problems or pretending that life is easy. It is about developing a state of being where nothing can steal your calm, where no hardship can shake your foundation. The smallest inconveniences in life can often trigger frustration and anxiety. A negative comment, an unexpected delay, a difficult interaction, all of these can quickly disrupt our sense of peace. But imagine if you could face these moments with absolute calm, unaffected by the distractions that once disturbed you. Imagine moving through your day with clarity, composure, and unwavering confidence. This is not about becoming emotionless or indifferent. It is about reaching a level of spiritual and mental mastery where your inner state remains unshaken, no matter what life throws at you. Developing this kind of peace is not an instant transformation. It is a process, a journey of training your mind and heart to respond differently. It requires shifting the way you think, deepening your faith, and letting go of the need to control every outcome. This is what we will explore today: the power of spiritual awareness, the path to unshakable faith, and the practice of living in true peace. So, how do you cultivate this kind of peace? How do you move from being easily disturbed by life's challenges to becoming a person who remains calm in any situation? The answer lies in spiritual wisdom. When you place your faith in something greater than yourself, when you recognize that you are not meant to carry every burden alone, and when you trust in the divine plan unfolding in your life, you begin to experience a peace that surpasses understanding. This peace does not come from external conditions, but from within, from aligning yourself with faith and letting go of the things that no longer serve you. The Bible reminds us time and time again not to be anxious, not to be troubled, but to trust. This trust is not passive. It is an active surrender, a conscious decision to remain rooted in faith rather than fear. When you truly embrace this, when you allow peace to take hold in your life, you begin to see everything differently. Problems lose their power to overwhelm you. Stress no longer consumes your thoughts. You learn to stand firm, no longer reacting to life's difficulties with fear, but meeting them with strength and resilience. Now, take a moment and ask yourself, how do you currently respond to life's challenges? Do you allow small disturbances to steal your joy? Do you find yourself easily frustrated by things that, in the grand scheme of life, are insignificant? What would change if you began to approach every situation with a calm and steady heart? These are the questions that will guide you on this journey. Stay with me as we go deeper into this powerful topic. Together we will uncover the secrets to lasting peace, discover how to train our minds to rise above negativity, and strengthen our faith to withstand anything life throws our way. If you are new here, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and if this message is speaking to you, leave a comment below with 777, as a declaration that you are stepping into a life of faith, peace, and clarity. Life is filled with distractions, unexpected difficulties, and pressures that constantly compete for our attention. It is easy to find ourselves caught in a cycle of reacting to every inconvenience, every unkind word, and every unexpected challenge. When we allow the small troubles of life to affect us deeply, we lose more than just a moment of peace. We lose our focus, our ability to be fully present, and ultimately we lose sight of our greater purpose. Every time we let a minor frustration dictate our mood, we are handing over control of our inner state to forces outside of us. And when this happens repeatedly, we begin to feel like a leaf caught in the wind, constantly being pushed in different directions, lacking the stability to stand firm in who we are. Being easily disturbed comes at a high cost. It drains our energy, weakens our emotional stability, and creates unnecessary stress in our relationships. When we allow ourselves to be controlled by circumstances, we begin to react impulsively instead of responding with wisdom. This can lead to misunderstandings, damaged relationships, and an overwhelming sense of frustration that prevents us from moving forward. Over time, we may start to feel powerless, as if we are at the mercy of everything happening around us. But this is not the way we were meant to live. We were not created to be constantly swayed by external conditions. We were created to rise above them, to stand firm in our faith, and to cultivate a state of peace that cannot be easily shaken. Many people believe that their peace depends on their environment. They think that if circumstances were different, if people behaved a certain way, or if life became less stressful, then they would finally feel at ease. But peace does not come from external conditions. True peace comes from within. It is a product of how we choose to perceive and respond to life. When we rely on the outside world to determine our sense of calm, we set ourselves up for a life of constant instability, because the world will always be unpredictable. There will always be difficulties, unexpected events, and things beyond our control. But if we learn to cultivate inner peace, none of these things will have the power to disturb us. At the root of our emotional instability is often a false sense of control. We believe that if we try hard enough, we can manage everything perfectly. But the truth is, we cannot control every situation, nor should we try to. What we can control is our response. When we surrender the need to control everything and instead focus on maintaining peace within, we become unshaken by the temporary storms of life. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending that difficulties do not exist. It means learning to meet every challenge with faith rather than fear, with composure rather than chaos. When we allow external circumstances to dictate our emotions, we give away our power. We let trivial matters determine our sense of well-being. But what if we began to shift our perspective? What if, instead of being constantly disturbed by life's challenges, we chose to remain centered? Imagine how different your life would feel if you were no longer thrown off balance by every inconvenience. Imagine moving through your day with a steady heart, no longer reacting impulsively but responding with wisdom and grace. This is not an impossible ideal. It is a skill that can be developed, a mindset that can be cultivated through faith and practice. When we strengthen our ability to remain peaceful, we also improve every area of our lives. Our relationships become stronger because we no longer engage in unnecessary conflicts. Our work becomes more productive because we are not constantly distracted by emotional disturbances. Our health even benefits, as stress is one of the leading causes of physical and mental exhaustion. More than that, when we learn to live from a place of inner peace, we become a source of stability for those around us. Others will begin to notice the difference in how we respond to challenges, and in time, they may even be inspired to cultivate the same sense of calm in their own lives. So how do we break free from the habit of being easily disturbed? It begins with a decision to no longer let external circumstances dictate our internal state. It requires us to develop a greater awareness of how we react to situations and to recognize when we are allowing minor inconveniences to control us. More importantly, it requires us to put our trust in something greater than ourselves. When we rely solely on our own strength to maintain peace, we will struggle. But when we place our faith in God, when we trust in His plan and His presence in our lives, we begin to experience a peace that is not dependent on circumstances. Faith is the key to true stability. The Bible reminds us time and time again to trust in God's wisdom rather than our own understanding. When we do this, we stop trying to control everything, and we begin to trust that there is a greater purpose behind everything we experience. This trust allows us to remain calm even in uncertainty. It reminds us that no matter what is happening around us, God is in control, and His plan for our lives is greater than anything we can comprehend. There will always be reasons to be disturbed, There will always be things that go wrong, people who disappoint us, and situations that test our patience. But what if we saw these challenges as opportunities to grow? What if, instead of being shaken by every inconvenience, we saw them as lessons in patience, faith, and inner strength? When we shift our perspective in this way, we begin to see difficulties not as obstacles, but as stepping stones leading us to greater wisdom and spiritual maturity. As we move forward, ask yourself, what are the things that disturb your peace the most? Are they truly significant, or are they distractions that you have allowed to take up too much space in your mind? How would your life change if you chose to no longer be controlled by these things? Consider the impact it would have on your relationships, your work, and your overall well-being. The good news is that there is another way. You do not have to live at the mercy of your emotions. You do not have to be easily disturbed by the things happening around you. You can choose a different path, the path of inner peace, where you remain calm even in the midst of life's storms. This is the journey we will continue to explore, and as we do, you will discover the tools to build an unshakable foundation of faith and resilience. There is a common misconception that those who remain calm in the face of adversity possess an innate ability, as if they were born with an extraordinary gift that allows them to remain unshaken. However, the truth is that inner stability is not a superpower, nor is it reserved for a select few. Those who maintain peace during life's storms have simply learned a skill, one that anyone can develop with practice, discipline, and the right mindset. They do not allow external circumstances to dictate their emotional state, nor do they give away their power to the chaos around them. Instead, they cultivate a deep sense of inner control that allows them to respond rather than react, to choose faith over fear, and to remain steady even when the world around them is in turmoil. One of the key traits of those who possess emotional resilience is their ability to separate what they can control from what they cannot. Many people waste immense amounts of energy trying to control the uncontrollable, obsessing over things that are entirely beyond their influence. This leads to frustration, stress, and a constant feeling of powerlessness. But those who have mastered the art of inner peace understand that their energy is best spent on their response rather than the circumstances themselves. They recognize that while they cannot control everything that happens, they can always control how they react. This shift in perspective is life-changing because it removes the feeling of helplessness and replaces it with a sense of empowerment. Another defining characteristic of emotionally strong individuals is their commitment to maintaining their inner world, regardless of what is happening externally. They do not wait for life to become easier before they find peace, nor do they rely on external conditions to dictate their happiness. Instead, they take full responsibility for their own state of mind. This does not mean they are emotionless or indifferent to suffering, but rather that they do not allow temporary difficulties to rob them of their long-term stability. They practice self-awareness, catching themselves when they start to spiral into negativity, and they actively choose thoughts and behaviors that align with peace rather than turmoil. At the core of this resilience is faith. Those who navigate life's challenges with unshakable peace often have a deep spiritual foundation. They trust in a higher power, knowing that they do not have to carry every burden alone. They understand that there is a greater plan unfolding, even when they cannot see the full picture. This trust allows them to release anxiety, let go of fear, and move forward with confidence. They know that even in the darkest moments, they are not alone, and this belief gives them the strength to stand firm when others would crumble. Faith is not a passive hope that things will work out. It is an active choice to rely on God's wisdom rather than one's own limited understanding. One of the most important lessons that emotionally strong people have learned is that inner peace is not achieved overnight. It is not a sudden realization or a one-time decision, but rather a daily practice. It requires discipline, just like physical exercise. Just as a person who wants to build physical strength must train their muscles consistently, those who want to develop emotional resilience must train their minds to remain calm under pressure. Every time they resist the urge to react impulsively, they strengthen their ability to remain composed. Every time they choose to step back and evaluate a situation with clarity rather than frustration, they reinforce their inner stability. Over time, this practice becomes second nature, and what once seemed impossible, staying calm in the face of adversity, becomes a natural response. This journey of emotional mastery is also marked by intentional reflection. Those who cultivate inner peace make time to examine their thoughts, behaviors, and reactions. They do not allow negative emotions to build up unchecked, nor do they suppress their feelings. Instead, they take time to process their emotions in a healthy way, seeking wisdom and perspective rather than reacting impulsively. They ask themselves questions such as, why did this situation trigger me? What can I learn from this? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my faith and values? This level of introspection allows them to grow continuously, refining their ability to maintain peace, regardless of what life brings their way. Another secret of those who remain calm under pressure is that they do not fight against reality. Many people suffer unnecessarily because they resist what is happening instead of accepting it. Resisting reality does not change it, it only creates more suffering. Emotionally resilient individuals, on the other hand, understand that acceptance is not the same as defeat. It does not mean they give up or stop striving for better outcomes. Rather, it means they do not waste energy wishing things were different. They acknowledge their challenges, accept them for what they are, and then take thoughtful action. This ability to embrace reality while maintaining hope and faith is what allows them to move forward without being paralyzed by stress. Additionally, those who have developed strong emotional stability do not allow negativity to take root in their minds. They guard their thoughts carefully, knowing that what they focus on will shape their reality. Instead of dwelling on what is wrong, they train themselves to look for what is right. They practice gratitude, finding reasons to be thankful even in difficult times. They remind themselves of past victories, knowing that if they overcame struggles before, they can overcome them again. This mindset does not mean they ignore difficulties, but rather that they refuse to let difficulties consume them. They actively choose faith, hope, and peace over worry, doubt, and fear. It is important to recognize that emotional resilience is not about never feeling sad, frustrated, or disappointed. Those who remain steady in the face of adversity still experience a full range of emotions. The difference is that they do not allow emotions to control them. They feel deeply, but they do not become overwhelmed. They acknowledge their struggles, but they do not let struggles define them. They understand that emotions are temporary and that their true identity is not based on fleeting feelings, but on their deeper sense of self and faith. Ultimately, the ability to remain unshaken in life's challenges is something that anyone can develop. It is not a privilege reserved for the lucky or the naturally calm. It is a skill that can be learned, refined, and strengthened over time. It requires patience, practice, and persistence, but for those who commit to this journey, the rewards are immeasurable. They gain a deep and lasting peace that allows them to move through life with confidence, clarity, and purpose. They become a source of strength for others, inspiring those around them to cultivate their own resilience. They live with a sense of freedom, no longer controlled by external circumstances, but grounded in an unshakable foundation of faith and inner stability. If you have ever struggled with being easily disturbed by life's challenges, know that you are not alone. More importantly, know that you have the power to change. You are not doomed to a life of constant stress and reactivity. You can learn to remain steady, to cultivate peace, and to navigate difficulties with grace. The path to emotional resilience begins with a simple decision: to take control of your inner world rather than allowing the outside world to control you. The question is, are you ready to take that step? If so, your journey to lasting peace and strength starts now. The ability to maintain inner peace is not something that happens by chance or is only available to a select few. It is a deliberate choice, a discipline that requires both faith and practice. Many people long for a life free from anxiety and stress, but they do not realize that true peace is not found in a world without problems. Rather, it is found in a heart that remains steady despite the problems. This kind of unshakable peace comes from trust. Trust in God, trust in His plan, and trust that no matter what happens, He is in control. When we shift our focus from trying to control every outcome to fully surrendering to God's wisdom, we unlock a level of peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. Trusting in God means understanding that there will always be challenges, but we do not have to be shaken by them. Isaiah 26:6-3 reminds us that those who fix their minds on God will be kept in perfect peace because they trust in Him. This is a powerful truth that changes everything. When we build our foundation on faith rather than fear, we become anchored in a peace that no storm can destroy. This does not mean we will never feel anxious or worried, but it does mean we have a place to turn when those emotions arise. Instead of letting stress consume us, we bring our concerns to God, knowing that He is faithful and will sustain us. Another key to maintaining peace is acting as if nothing can disturb you. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending that difficulties do not exist. It means training yourself to respond with calmness instead of reacting with fear. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One panics and loses control, while the other remains composed and works through the problem with clarity. The difference is not the situation itself, but how each person chooses to handle it. The way we respond to life's trials is a reflection of our inner state. And when we cultivate peace within, it naturally extends to the way we approach difficulties. If we believe that we can remain calm under pressure, we begin to act accordingly. Over time, this becomes our natural response. One of the most misunderstood aspects of inner peace is the belief that it is something we either have or do not have. In reality, peace is something that must be developed and strengthened over time. Just as physical strength requires regular training, emotional and spiritual strength must also be built through consistent practice. It is not enough to desire peace. We must actively work toward it. This involves daily habits such as prayer, meditation, reflection, and intentional choices to focus on what truly matters, rather than being consumed by temporary distractions. The connection between faith and discipline is essential. Many people assume that faith alone is enough to maintain peace, but without discipline, faith can become passive rather than active. Similarly, discipline without faith can lead to burnout because it relies solely on personal effort. The most powerful approach is one that combines both. When we trust in God and commit to practices that reinforce our peace, we develop an unshakable foundation. We wake up each day with the decision to focus on God rather than our fears. We train ourselves to replace worry with prayer. We learn to pause before reacting and seek wisdom before speaking. These small daily choices shape the way we experience life. Maintaining peace also requires us to recognize what steals our peace and take steps to guard against it. Often, stress is not caused by the events themselves, but by how we interpret them. Two people can experience the same difficulty, yet one remains composed while the other is overwhelmed. Why? Because the first person has trained their mind to see beyond the immediate struggle and trust in the bigger picture. Instead of viewing obstacles as threats, they see them as opportunities for growth. They recognize that discomfort and uncertainty are temporary, but the lessons they learn will last forever. In addition to trusting in God and practicing discipline, surrounding ourselves with the right influences is crucial. The people we spend time with, the information we consume, and the thoughts we entertain all affect our inner world. If we constantly engage in negativity, drama, or unnecessary conflict, we cannot expect to maintain a sense of calm. Just as we nourish our bodies with healthy food, we must also nourish our minds and spirits with positive influences. This includes spending time in prayer, reading scripture, surrounding ourselves with uplifting people, and limiting exposure to things that drain our energy or disturb our peace. Another important aspect of sustaining inner peace is learning to release control. Many people experience stress because they are trying to manage everything themselves. They feel responsible for fixing every problem, controlling every outcome, and ensuring everything goes according to plan. But the reality is, much of life is beyond our control. The more we cling to the illusion of control, the more anxious we become. True peace comes from surrendering that need to control and trusting that God's plan is greater than our own. This does not mean we stop making an effort or that we become passive. It means we do our best with what we have and trust that God will handle the rest. Living in peace does not mean we will never face struggles, but it does mean we will have a foundation that allows us to stand firm through them. It is not about waiting for life to become easier. It is about strengthening ourselves so that no matter what comes, we remain steady. This is why faith and discipline go hand in hand. One gives us the foundation, and the other gives us the tools to build upon it. If you have ever struggled with feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges, know that peace is within your reach. It is not reserved for those who have perfect lives or who never face difficulties. It is available to anyone willing to commit to the journey of faith, discipline, and intentional growth. The question is not whether peace is possible, but whether you are willing to pursue it. Every moment is an opportunity to practice, to reset, and to choose a response that aligns with the life you want to live. The more you commit to this path, the more natural it will become. What would change in your life if you fully embraced this way of thinking? How would your relationships, your work, and your daily experiences be different if you refused to let external circumstances dictate your inner world? The choice is yours to make. Inner peace is not given to a few. It is available to all who are willing to seek it, train for it, and trust in the one who provides it. Will you take the next step? Many of the things that trouble us on a daily basis are not as significant as we make them out to be. Yet we give them power over our emotions, our time, and our peace of mind. A negative comment from a stranger, a small inconvenience, or an unexpected change in plans can become sources of frustration if we allow them to. The truth is, we often hold on to things that are not worth our energy, allowing minor irritations to disrupt our sense of peace. But what if we could shift our perspective and free ourselves from unnecessary burdens? What if we could develop the ability to rise above these distractions and focus only on what truly matters? The key to doing this lies in our mindset and how we choose to interpret the events of our lives. The way we perceive a situation determines its impact on us. Two people can experience the same challenge, yet one remains composed while the other becomes overwhelmed. The difference is not in the situation itself, but in the way each person processes and responds to it. When we take a step back and adopt a broader perspective, many of the things that once seemed important begin to lose their weight. Instead of reacting impulsively to minor irritations, we gain the ability to assess whether they truly deserve our attention. This does not mean ignoring problems, but rather prioritizing them based on their real significance. If something will not matter a week, a month, or a year from now, why should it steal our peace today? One of the most powerful reminders of this principle comes from Isaiah 55, 8-9, where God declares that His ways are higher than ours, His thoughts beyond our understanding. This truth calls us to trust in a greater plan rather than being consumed by the trivial worries of the present moment. We often stress about things that are beyond our control, forgetting that God sees the full picture, while we only see a fraction of it. When we recognize that there is a divine purpose unfolding in our lives, we begin to let go of unnecessary concerns and focus on what truly matters. Letting go of unnecessary worries does not mean we stop caring about life or become indifferent to challenges. Rather, it means we learn to discern between what deserves our concern and what is merely a passing disturbance. Imagine holding a heavy backpack filled with rocks, each rock representing a different worry or stressor. Some of these rocks may be worth carrying, important responsibilities, meaningful relationships, personal growth, but many of them are unnecessary. They are worries about things that may never happen, frustrations over things we cannot change, or fears that do not serve us. By choosing to set down the burdens that do not serve us, we lighten our load and make space for what is truly valuable. Another way to cultivate this freedom is by practicing detachment from external validation. Much of our stress comes from trying to meet expectations, whether from society, family, or even ourselves. We worry about how we are perceived, whether we are doing enough, or if we are keeping up with others. But true peace comes when we stop measuring ourselves by external standards and focus instead on our own journey. When we learn to seek validation from God rather than the world, we become less affected by opinions, criticism, and comparisons. This shift in perspective allows us to live more authentically and to make decisions based on faith rather than fear. A practical approach to achieving this mindset is to develop the habit of questioning our reactions. Whenever something upsets us, we can ask ourselves, is this truly important? Will this matter in the long run? Am I letting something small take away my joy? This moment of reflection helps us regain control over our emotions rather than being controlled by them. Over time, this practice strengthens our ability to maintain inner peace, even in the face of challenges. Additionally, cultivating gratitude plays a significant role in freeing ourselves from unnecessary concerns. When we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, our perspective shifts. Gratitude redirects our attention away from minor frustrations and toward the blessings in our lives. It reminds us that, despite any difficulties we may face, there is always something to be thankful for. The more we practice gratitude, the less we allow trivial issues to disturb our peace. It is also important to recognize that learning to let go is a continuous process, not something that happens overnight. There will be times when we find ourselves caught up in small worries, reacting emotionally instead of responding with wisdom. The key is to be patient with ourselves and to use each experience as an opportunity to grow. Every time we choose to release an unnecessary burden, we become a little stronger, a little freer, and a little more aligned with the life of peace that God intends for us. Imagine how much lighter your life would feel if you no longer allowed insignificant things to disturb your peace. What if you could move through each day unbothered by distractions, focused on what truly matters and confident in God's plan? This freedom is available to you. It begins with a decision to stop giving power to things that do not deserve it. It begins with choosing to trust, to let go, and to embrace the peace that comes from living with a greater perspective. The question is, are you ready to take that step? One of the greatest sources of stress in life comes from attachment. We hold on to expectations, material possessions, and even the way we want others to perceive us. When things do not go as planned, when we lose what we value, or when our image is challenged, we feel uneasy, anxious, or even devastated. But what if true peace is found not in clinging tightly to these things, but in learning to release them? The more we attach ourselves to external circumstances, the more vulnerable we become to disappointment. The moment we expect life to unfold in a certain way, we set ourselves up for frustration. Circumstances change, people make mistakes, and the world does not always conform to our desires. If our happiness is tied to things going exactly as we want, we will constantly feel unsettled. Jesus provided profound wisdom on this topic, urging us not to store up treasures on earth where they can be lost, stolen, or destroyed, but instead to focus on treasures in heaven. This teaching is not just about material wealth. It applies to all the things we desperately hold on to: our reputation, control over outcomes, validation from others. When we invest our peace in things that are temporary, our stability is constantly at risk. The reality is that nothing in this world is truly permanent. Wealth can disappear, relationships change, and even our carefully planned lives can take unexpected turns. Yet, we often act as if we can control everything, as if clinging tightly to these things will somehow guarantee our happiness. But there is another way, a path to true freedom, and it starts with loosening our grip on the things we cannot control. Letting go does not mean we stop caring or striving for success. It means we release the idea that our worth, happiness, and peace depend on things outside of us. Imagine carrying a heavy load of rocks, each one representing a different attachment, a need for approval, a desire for a certain outcome, fear of change. The weight is exhausting, yet we carry it because we believe we must. But what happens when we start letting go of the unnecessary burdens? We feel lighter, freer, and more at peace. Many people hesitate to release control because they fear uncertainty. They believe that if they stop holding on so tightly, things will fall apart. But the truth is, many of the things we cling to are already out of our hands. Worrying about them does not prevent hardship, it only steals our peace in the present. Letting go is not about neglecting responsibilities or avoiding challenges. It is about shifting from a mindset of control to one of trust. When we surrender our worries, our expectations, and our need for things to be a certain way, we make room for peace to enter our lives. Another aspect of attachment that often causes stress is our self-permission. Many people feel pressured to present a certain version of themselves to the world, someone who has everything figured out, who never fails, who meets every expectation. This pressure can be exhausting, and it prevents us from living authentically. The moment we stop trying to control how others perceive us, we experience a deep sense of liberation. We are no longer bound by the need for approval. We become free to live in alignment with our true selves, rather than shaping our lives around the opinions of others. The same principle applies to material possessions. While there is nothing wrong with having wealth or enjoying nice things, the problem arises when our identity and security are wrapped up in them. Many people believe that acquiring more will bring them happiness, but in reality, an endless pursuit of material gain often leads to more stress, not less. The more we own, the more we feel the need to protect, maintain, and accumulate even more. But when we shift our focus from acquiring to appreciating, from possessing to experiencing, we discover that contentment is not found in things, but in our ability to be fully present in the moment. Expectations are another major source of attachment. We expect people to act a certain way. We expect life to be fair. We expect things to go smoothly. And when reality does not align with our expectations, we become frustrated. But what if we could embrace life as it unfolds rather than resisting it? What if, instead of demanding that everything go our way, we learn to adapt with grace? When we loosen our attachment to expectations, we open ourselves to a new level of peace. Letting go is a process, not a one-time decision. It requires practice and self-awareness. Each time we catch ourselves holding onto something too tightly, whether it is a desire for control, fear of failure, or frustration over things not going as planned, we have an opportunity to choose a different path. We can remind ourselves that our peace does not depend on external circumstances, but on our ability to release what does not serve us. At its core, this journey is about trust. Trusting that we do not need to control everything to be okay, trusting that even in uncertainty we will be guided, trusting that God's plan is greater than our own. When we release our grip on things that do not truly matter, we make space for what does. We create room for joy, for gratitude, for deeper relationships, for a life that is not dictated by stress and worry. Imagine waking up each day without the weight of unnecessary burdens. Imagine moving through life with a sense of ease, knowing that you are not defined by what you own, what others think of you, or whether things always go according to plan. This is the freedom that comes from letting go. This is the peace that surpasses understanding. And this is the life that awaits those who choose to release what is temporary in favor of what is eternal. The question is, what are you holding on to that is keeping you from experiencing true peace? What would happen if you decided to let it go? Life is filled with challenges, and our ability to navigate them depends not on the circumstances themselves, but on how we prepare our minds to face them. Many people believe that peace comes from avoiding difficulties, but true inner strength is built by learning how to endure hardship without letting it control our emotions. The way we respond to adversity determines whether we grow stronger or become overwhelmed. Ancient Greek philosophers practiced a method known as negative visualization, where they deliberately imagined the worst possible scenarios to mentally prepare themselves for any outcome. This was not about dwelling in negativity, but about developing resilience. By confronting the possibility of loss, failure, or hardship in their minds, they were able to meet real-life difficulties with a sense of calm and readiness, rather than panic and despair. Instead of being shocked or caught off guard, they had already trained themselves to accept and handle whatever came their way. This practice aligns with biblical wisdom, which teaches that trials and hardships are opportunities for growth rather than reasons for despair. The book of James reminds us to consider it pure joy when we face difficulties, because these challenges produce perseverance. The process of enduring hardship strengthens character, shapes faith, and teaches us patience. Many people mistakenly believe that faith means everything will always go smoothly. But faith is not about avoiding trials, it is about trusting that even in the storm, God is at work. The ability to remain steadfast in the face of adversity is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who grow through their struggles. When we encounter difficulties, our natural reaction is often to resist them, to wish they would go away, or to question why we have to endure them in the first place. But what if we viewed hardships differently? Instead of seeing them as obstacles, what if we saw them as opportunities to develop endurance and deepen our faith? Every person who has ever achieved great things has faced trials along the way. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up lies in their ability to push forward despite difficulties. Strength is not built in comfort, but in the moments when we choose to keep going, even when it would be easier to quit. To develop this mindset, we must train ourselves to handle discomfort rather than run from it. This does not mean seeking out suffering, but rather learning to face it with a mindset of growth. The more we practice resilience in small moments, the stronger we become when larger challenges arise. When faced with a delay, an unexpected difficulty, or an unfair situation, instead of reacting emotionally, we can choose to see it as an opportunity to practice patience and self-control. Over time, these small choices add up, and we find that we are no longer easily shaken by the things that once disturbed us. Another powerful way to cultivate resilience is through gratitude. It may seem counterintuitive to give thanks during trials, but gratitude shifts our perspective from what is going wrong to what remains strong. Even in hardship, there are lessons to be learned, strength to be gained, and new doors that may be opening. When we focus on what we can learn rather than what we have lost, we reclaim power over our circumstances. It is not about pretending that difficulties do not exist, but about refusing to let them define us. Challenges will always be a part of life, but how we respond to them is within our control. The greatest test of resilience is maintaining peace in the face of uncertainty. Many people experience anxiety because they fear the unknown. They worry about what might happen, what could go wrong, or how they will handle a situation if it turns out badly. But fear of the future only robs us of peace in the present. Instead of worrying about what might happen, we can remind ourselves that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way. We do not have to be afraid of challenges because we know that each one is an opportunity to grow stronger. Faith is the belief that even in the most uncertain times, God is in control. It is the knowledge that nothing happens by accident and that every challenge has a purpose. When we embrace this mindset, we stop seeing difficulties as threats and start seeing them as stepping stones toward greater strength and wisdom. One of the most freeing realizations is that we are not defined by our struggles, but by how we respond to them. Many people allow hardship to shape their identity, seeing themselves as victims of circumstances beyond their control. But those who cultivate resilience understand that while they cannot always control what happens to them, they can always control how they respond. They refuse to let difficulties dictate their sense of peace, their joy, or their ability to move forward. Instead, they use every hardship as an opportunity to grow into a stronger, wiser, and more faithful version of themselves. When we develop the ability to face challenges with courage, we inspire others to do the same. People who maintain their peace in the midst of trials become a source of strength for those around them. Their stability is reassuring, and their calmness creates an atmosphere of confidence and trust. They show others that it is possible to go through hardships without losing hope, and that true peace comes from within, rather than from external circumstances. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate difficulties from our lives, but to become the kind of people who can handle them with wisdom and grace. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to develop inner strength, to deepen our faith, and to grow into the people we were meant to be. Instead of asking why we must endure hardships, we can ask what we can learn from them. Instead of wishing for easier circumstances, we can strive to become stronger individuals. The path to resilience is not about avoiding struggle, but about learning how to navigate it with trust, patience, and unwavering faith. The next time you encounter a challenge, ask yourself, is this an obstacle or is it an opportunity for growth? Will I let this hardship shake me, or will I use it to develop greater endurance? Every difficulty is a chance to build strength, to deepen faith, and to cultivate peace. How will you respond? Inner peace is not something that happens by chance or is granted only to a select few. It is a state of being that can be cultivated and strengthened through consistent practice. Many people believe that remaining calm in difficult situations is a matter of personality or luck, but the truth is that it is a skill that anyone can develop. The more we train ourselves to stay composed instead of reacting impulsively, the more natural it becomes. Like any habit, peace must be practiced until it becomes second nature. Every time we choose to remain calm instead of giving in to anger, frustration, or anxiety, we reinforce the foundation of our inner stability. Over time, this practice transforms our default reactions, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with greater ease and clarity. One of the key ways to cultivate this natural state of peace is to shift from being reactive to being responsive. Most people go through life reacting to whatever happens around them, allowing their emotions to be dictated by external events. A delay in plans, a rude comment, an unexpected inconvenience. Each of these can trigger irritation or stress if we are not mindful. But those who have mastered inner peace do not allow these small disruptions to control their emotional state. Instead, they pause, reflect, and choose their response. This ability to pause before reacting is a powerful tool. It allows us to break free from the cycle of emotional reactivity and replace it with a sense of thoughtful awareness. By practicing this approach consistently, we train our minds to remain steady, regardless of the circumstances. Another essential step in making peace a natural state is recognizing that we always have a choice in how we respond to situations. Many people believe that their emotions are automatic and that they have no control over them. But the reality is that while we may not be able to control what happens to us, we can always control how we interpret and respond to it. If someone speaks harshly to us, we can either take it personally and allow it to ruin our mood, or we can recognize that their words are a reflection of their own struggles and refuse to let them disturb our peace. If a situation does not go as planned, we can either dwell on frustration, or we can adapt and move forward with grace. Each choice we make strengthens our ability to remain grounded. When we consistently choose peace over conflict, understanding over anger, and patience over frustration, these responses become automatic. The process of internalizing peace requires discipline and mindfulness. Just as an athlete trains their body for endurance and strength, we must train our minds to remain steady. Meditation, prayer, and self-reflection are powerful tools in this process. Setting aside time each day to quiet the mind and focus on stillness strengthens our ability to remain calm in everyday life. When we develop a habit of stillness, it becomes a reservoir of strength that we can draw upon whenever challenges arise. This practice does not mean ignoring problems, but rather approaching them from a place of wisdom rather than emotion. Letting go of unnecessary attachments is another key to making peace our natural state. Much of our distress comes from clinging too tightly to expectations, material possessions, or the need for validation from others. When we attach our sense of peace to external factors, we become vulnerable to disappointment and instability. But when we learn to let go and trust in a greater purpose, we free ourselves from the constant turbulence of unmet expectations. Jesus taught that we should not store up treasures on earth because they are temporary and can be taken away. Instead, we should focus on things that are eternal: faith, love, and inner strength. When we release our grip on things beyond our control, we create space for peace to enter our lives. Another practical step in embedding peace into our daily existence is to reframe challenges as opportunities for growth. Instead of seeing obstacles as burdens, we can view them as lessons designed to strengthen us. Each moment of frustration, every difficult encounter, and every unexpected setback is a chance to practice patience, resilience, and trust. By shifting our perspective in this way, we prevent negativity from taking root in our minds. Over time, this shift becomes instinctive, allowing us to remain at peace even in situations that once would have caused distress. Gratitude is also a crucial element in maintaining a state of peace. When we focus on what we lack or what is going wrong, it is easy to become consumed by negativity. But when we intentionally focus on what is good, no matter how small, we develop an unshakable sense of contentment. Gratitude transforms our mindset, allowing us to see the beauty and blessings in each moment. This does not mean ignoring difficulties, but rather choosing to emphasize the positive aspects of our lives. When gratitude becomes our default way of thinking, peace naturally follows. Surrounding ourselves with peaceful influences is another way to reinforce a steady state of mind. The people we spend time with, the content we consume, and the conversations we engage in all shape our mental and emotional well-being. If we are constantly surrounded by negativity, gossip, and stress, it will be difficult to maintain a sense of calm. But when we seek out uplifting, encouraging, and peaceful environments, we reinforce the mindset we want to cultivate. Choosing relationships and activities that nourish our souls helps to solidify peace as our natural response to life. Over time, as we practice these principles, peace ceases to be something we must consciously strive for, and instead becomes our natural way of being. The things that once irritated us lose their power, and we find that we are no longer easily shaken by life's ups and downs. This does not mean that we will never face challenges, but rather that when difficulties arise, we will meet them with a sense of steadiness and trust. We will no longer be at the mercy of every passing emotion or external event, but instead we will move through life with a quiet confidence that nothing can disturb our inner stability. The journey toward making peace a natural state is not about perfection, but about progress. There will be moments when we fall back into old patterns of frustration or worry, but each time we consciously choose peace, we strengthen our ability to remain grounded. Every effort we make to respond with patience, to let go of unnecessary stress, and to trust in God's plan brings us one step closer to living with unwavering peace. The goal is not to eliminate all challenges, but to reach a point where our sense of peace is so deeply ingrained that no matter what happens, we remain centered. How different would your life be if peace were your automatic response rather than stress or frustration? Imagine facing every challenge with a calm mind and an open heart. How much more joy, clarity, and fulfillment would you experience? The ability to remain peaceful is within your reach. It is not a distant goal, but a daily practice. The more you cultivate it, the more naturally it will flow through you. Are you ready to make peace your default state? Peace is not just a personal achievement. It is a force that radiates outward, influencing the people around us in ways we may not even realize. When we cultivate inner peace, it changes how we interact with others, how we handle conflict, and how we contribute to the world around us. Those who have mastered a sense of calm are not only more at ease within themselves, but also create an environment where others feel safe, valued, and heard. Peaceful individuals do not react impulsively to negativity or challenges. Instead, they approach situations with patience, wisdom, and understanding. This ability to respond rather than react has a powerful ripple effect, transforming relationships, workplaces, and communities. In our daily lives, we often underestimate the impact of our energy on those around us. When we are anxious, frustrated, or reactive, it creates a tense atmosphere that others can sense and absorb. Conversely, when we carry ourselves with a steady, composed presence, it reassures those around us. Imagine entering a room where people are agitated and on edge. It instantly puts you in a defensive or uneasy state. Now, imagine walking into a space where people exude calmness and confidence. The difference is profound. By being a source of peace, we have the power to shift the atmosphere of any room we enter. This is why true peace is not just a personal benefit, but a gift we offer to the world. One of the most significant ways inner peace affects others is through relationships. People who cultivate deep inner stability are better equipped to handle difficult conversations, misunderstandings, and moments of tension. Instead of reacting out of anger or frustration, they listen with empathy and respond with thoughtfulness. They are not easily offended, nor do they hold grudges. This approach fosters trust and openness, strengthening the foundation of any relationship. Whether it is a marriage, a friendship, a family bond, or a workplace interaction, peaceful individuals bring clarity and harmony to every exchange. Others feel safe expressing themselves without fear of being judged or met with hostility. Over time, this kind of emotional stability strengthens connections and deepens relationships. Beyond personal interactions, inner peace plays a crucial role in shaping communities. In a world often marked by division, misunderstandings, and conflict, those who possess a deep sense of peace become bridges between people. They are the ones who mediate disagreements with wisdom, who bring clarity to confusion, and who help de-escalate tensions before they turn into something destructive. Their presence alone can be a source of comfort to those around them. Many of the world's greatest leaders, peacemakers, and spiritual teachers have demonstrated this quality. They did not contribute to chaos, but instead acted as stabilizing forces in the face of uncertainty. The ability to remain calm in difficult situations also makes a person more effective in leadership roles. Whether leading a team at work, guiding a family, or taking on responsibilities in a community, a composed leader gains the respect and trust of others. People naturally look up to those who remain steady in the midst of challenges because they provide a sense of direction and assurance. The more we cultivate peace within ourselves, the more capable we become of leading others with integrity and wisdom. Another important aspect of peace is its effect on mental and emotional health. When we are at peace, we inspire others to embrace the same mindset. We show, through our actions and presence, that it is possible to navigate life without being overwhelmed by stress and negativity. This is especially valuable in today's fast-paced world, where people are constantly bombarded with information, responsibilities, and pressures. A peaceful person stands as a reminder that there is another way to live, one that is not dictated by fear, worry, or external circumstances. Furthermore, peace fosters kindness and compassion. When we are internally settled, we naturally become more generous, understanding, and patient. Those who are constantly overwhelmed by stress or anger often lack the capacity to extend kindness to others because they are caught up in their own struggles. But when we operate from a place of tranquility, we have the emotional space to be present for others, to listen without rushing to judgment, and to offer support without condition. In this way, peace is not just about personal well-being, but also about contributing to the well-being of those around us. This transformation does not happen overnight. Cultivating inner peace requires consistent effort, self-awareness, and spiritual growth. It involves shifting our mindset from one of reaction to one of intentional response. It requires us to let go of unnecessary attachments, to trust in a greater plan, and to surrender the illusion of control over things beyond our power. The more we practice this, the more natural it becomes, and soon, peace is not just something we seek, it is something we embody. Imagine a world where more people chose peace over conflict, understanding over anger, and patience over frustration. While we may not be able to change everyone, we can start by changing ourselves. And by doing so, we influence those around us in ways that ripple far beyond what we can see. We may never fully know how our decision to remain calm and centered affects someone else's life, but every time we choose peace, we are planting a seed, one that has the potential to grow into something far greater than we can imagine. What if the peace you cultivate in your own life becomes the catalyst for change in someone else's? What if your ability to remain steady during difficult times inspires another person to do the same? How many lives could be positively affected by the simple decision to choose peace each day? These are the questions that remind us that the journey toward inner peace is not just for ourselves, but for everyone we encounter. When we embody peace, we become living testimonies of what it means to walk in faith and trust. We reflect the wisdom that teaches us to let go of what we cannot control, to focus on what truly matters, and to trust that everything is unfolding as it should. In doing so, we not only transform our own lives, but also become a source of light and guidance for those around us. The world does not need more people who react in fear and anger. It needs people who stand firm in peace and lead with love. And that is something each of us has the power to become. Success and wisdom are not merely products of hard work or intelligence. They are deeply connected to our ability to maintain inner peace. When our minds are free from unnecessary distractions, when our emotions are not constantly dictated by external circumstances, we gain clarity, focus, and the ability to make sound decisions. True success does not come from a frantic, anxious pursuit of goals, but from a calm and steady approach to life's challenges. Those who cultivate inner peace are often the ones who excel in their work, relationships, and personal endeavors, not because they never face obstacles, but because they navigate them with a clear mind and a resilient spirit. Many people believe that stress is a natural part of achieving success, that to reach the highest level, one must endure constant pressure and anxiety. But in reality, stress is often what holds people back. When the mind is overwhelmed with worry and tension, productivity decreases, creativity diminishes, and decision-making becomes clouded. Stress leads to impulsive reactions rather than thoughtful responses, causing mistakes that could have been avoided. On the other hand, when we cultivate a state of inner peace, we create space for greater wisdom and discernment. Instead of reacting out of fear or frustration, we approach each challenge with patience and confidence. The ability to remain calm in stressful situations is a trait shared by many of the most successful individuals in history. Whether in business, leadership, or creative fields, those who rise to the top are often those who can think clearly under pressure. They do not allow emotions to dictate their actions, and because of that, they can maintain a long-term vision rather than being swayed by temporary difficulties. When we are at peace within ourselves, we do not feel the need to prove anything to others or rush toward an outcome. We trust in the process, in divine timing, and in our ability to handle whatever comes our way. Inner peace enhances focus, and focus is one of the greatest tools for success. A scattered mind, constantly distracted by worry, cannot fully engage with the task at hand. But a mind that is calm and centered is able to direct all of its energy toward what truly matters. When we work with a peaceful heart, we become more efficient and effective. We are able to give our best effort without being drained by unnecessary concerns. This is why the Bible reminds us in Colossians 3:23 to work with all our hearts, as if working for the Lord and not for human approval. When we adopt this mindset, our work is no longer about seeking validation or competing with others. It becomes an expression of purpose and dedication. Creativity also flourishes in a peaceful mind. Some of the greatest innovations, artistic masterpieces, and groundbreaking ideas have emerged from moments of deep stillness. When we are not consumed by fear or stress, we are able to see possibilities that were previously hidden. Inspiration flows more naturally when we are not preoccupied with worry. Many artists, writers, and visionaries throughout history have spoken about the importance of solitude and inner stillness in their creative process. Peace creates room for ideas to take shape and for intuition to guide us in the right direction. Beyond personal achievements, inner peace allows us to cultivate better relationships, which are essential for success in any area of life. A person who is calm and emotionally stable is more approachable, trustworthy, and respected. Whether in leadership, business, or personal relationships, people gravitate toward those who exude confidence without arrogance, strength without aggression, and wisdom without impatience. A peaceful person can navigate conflicts with grace, communicate effectively, and inspire those around them. The ability to remain composed in difficult conversations, to listen with understanding rather than react with defensiveness, is a skill that leads to stronger connections and greater opportunities. Another key aspect of inner peace is resilience. Success is rarely a straight path. It is often filled with setbacks, failures, and unexpected detours. Those who lack inner stability are easily discouraged by difficulties. They allow failures to define them, and they give up when things do not go as planned. But those who cultivate inner peace see challenges as temporary, as opportunities to learn and grow, rather than as reasons to quit. They understand that setbacks are not roadblocks but stepping stones towards something greater. Because they are not controlled by frustration or self-doubt, they have the endurance to keep moving forward no matter how many obstacles arise. Spiritual faith plays a significant role in maintaining this kind of peace. When we trust in God's plan, we do not feel the need to force things to happen. We do our best, but we also surrender the outcome, knowing that everything is unfolding as it should. Faith allows us to let go of unnecessary worries, to release the need for control, and to embrace the process with patience. It is this trust that frees us from the burden of constantly questioning whether we are on the right path. Instead of being consumed by uncertainty, we walk forward with confidence, knowing that our efforts are meaningful and that our purpose is being fulfilled. Success is not just about achieving goals. It is about how we experience the journey. A person who reaches the top but is constantly stressed, anxious, or unhappy has not truly succeeded. True success is found in the ability to enjoy life while pursuing one's purpose, to remain joyful even in hard times, and to find fulfillment in the process rather than just in the results. It is about living with intention, making decisions from a place of clarity, and knowing that peace is not something external, but something we cultivate within ourselves. If you look at your own life, how often have stress and worry held you back from being your best self? How many times have fear or impatience led to mistakes that could have been avoided? Imagine how different your life would be if you approached every challenge with calmness, if you worked with a sense of purpose rather than pressure, and if you made decisions from a place of clarity rather than fear. This is the power of inner peace. It does not remove challenges from life, but it changes how we handle them. It gives us the strength to move forward without hesitation, the wisdom to choose the right path, and the resilience to keep going no matter what obstacles arise. Inner peace is not a luxury, it is a necessity for true success. It is what allows us to stay focused, to work with excellence, to think creatively, and to lead with wisdom. It is what makes success sustainable, preventing burnout and exhaustion. And most importantly, it is what allows us to remain connected to our faith, knowing that we are not striving alone, but are being guided every step of the way. When we learn to cultivate this peace, we unlock a level of potential that stress and anxiety could never achieve, and in doing so, we set ourselves on a path not just to success, but to a life of fulfillment, joy, and divine purpose. Inner peace is one of the greatest gifts we can cultivate in our lives, not only because it shields us from unnecessary stress, but because it allows us to fully appreciate and embrace the life we have. When we are no longer consumed by worry, frustration, or the endless pursuit of what's next, we gain the ability to see and experience the beauty in the present moment. Life is filled with simple, profound joys that often go unnoticed when our minds are preoccupied with anxiety. The gentle warmth of the sun on our skin, the laughter of a loved one, the stillness of early morning. These moments, when truly appreciated, bring a sense of fulfillment that no external achievement can match. Yet too often we are caught in an endless cycle of striving, always chasing something more, believing that happiness lies somewhere in the distant future, rather than in the here and now. Gratitude plays a central role in this transformation. When we focus on what we already have, rather than what we lack, we shift our perspective from scarcity to abundance. The Apostle Paul reminds us in 1 Thessalonians 5:18 to give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for us. This doesn't mean ignoring difficulties or pretending that everything is perfect, but rather learning to see the blessings that exist even in the midst of hardship. Gratitude is a discipline, a way of training our minds to recognize the good that is always present, even when life does not go as planned. When we develop this mindset, our hearts become lighter, our stress decreases, and we begin to see life not as something to be endured, but as something to be cherished. One of the biggest obstacles to inner peace is the habit of constantly living in the future. We tell ourselves that we will be happy when we achieve a certain goal, when we have more money, when we find the right relationship, or when our circumstances improve. But the truth is, if we do not learn to find contentment in the present, we will never find it in the future. There will always be another milestone to reach, another problem to solve, another reason to postpone our joy. Psalm 118:24 reminds us that this is the day the Lord has made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. Today is the only moment we truly have. If we cannot find peace now, we will not find it later. Another way inner peace helps us appreciate life is by freeing us from the trap of comparison. In a world where social media constantly presents us with curated versions of other people's lives, it is easy to feel like we are not doing enough, that we are somehow behind or missing out. But peace allows us to step away from this illusion and recognize that our journey is our own. The more we focus on what others have, the less we appreciate what has been given to us. When we cultivate inner peace, we stop looking outward for validation and instead recognize the value of our own lives, just as they are. Inner peace also allows us to build deeper, more meaningful relationships. When we are stressed, our minds are scattered, and our interactions with others are often rushed or distracted. We listen without truly hearing, we speak without truly connecting. But when we are at peace, we become more present with those around us. We engage in conversations with sincerity, we appreciate the people in our lives without taking them for granted, and we cultivate a sense of presence that brings warmth and depth to our connections. The quality of our relationships is one of the greatest determinants of happiness, and when we learn to be fully present with others, our bonds grow stronger. One of the most overlooked ways that inner peace enhances our appreciation for life is by changing how we view challenges. Instead of seeing difficulties as burdens, we begin to see them as opportunities for growth. When our minds are at peace, we are not easily overwhelmed by setbacks or obstacles. We approach them with clarity and patience, understanding that even in hardship, there are lessons to be learned. This perspective allows us to move through life with a sense of trust rather than fear, knowing that we are being guided even in uncertain times. Cultivating inner peace also transforms the way we spend our time. When we are constantly anxious, we fill our days with distractions, mindless scrolling, excessive busyness, or the pursuit of temporary pleasures that do not bring true fulfillment. But when we are at peace, we become more intentional. We seek activities that nourish our souls, whether it's reading, praying, spending time in nature, or simply being still. We no longer feel the need to fill every moment with noise, because we have learnt to be comfortable in silence. And in that silence, we often find the most profound clarity and joy. At its core, inner peace is a reminder that life itself is a gift. Every breath we take is a miracle. Every moment is an opportunity to experience something meaningful. Yet so many people go through life asleep, constantly rushing, constantly waiting for the future, never stopping to truly live. Peace allows us to wake up. It teaches us to savor the moment, to embrace the ordinary as extraordinary, and to see life not as something to get through, but as something to be deeply appreciated. If you reflect on your own life, how often do you truly stop and appreciate what you have? How often do you allow yourself to feel grateful for the little things? Imagine how different your days would feel if you approached them with a heart full of peace instead of stress. Imagine waking up each morning, not with anxiety about the future, but with a deep sense of contentment for the present. This is the power of inner peace. It does not change our circumstances, but it changes how we experience them. It allows us to live fully, to love deeply, and to embrace life with a heart that is open rather than burdened. Life is not meant to be a race to the next achievement. It is meant to be lived. It is meant to be appreciated. And when we cultivate inner peace, we gain the ability to do just that. So, the question is, are you living fully, or are you merely going through the motions? Are you truly present in your life, or are you always waiting for something else? Inner peace is not something that comes to us from the outside. It is something we choose, something we nurture, something we commit to. And when we do, we begin to see that the happiness we have been searching for has been within us all along. Inner peace is not something that can be achieved overnight, nor is it a destination that we arrive at and remain in permanently. It is a continuous journey, a process of growth, learning, and refinement. Many people believe that peace is a fixed state, something they will eventually attain once they remove all challenges and disruptions from their lives. But the truth is, peace is cultivated in the midst of life's struggles, not in the absence of them. It is developed through persistence, patience, and faith. The more we commit to this journey, the more we realize that peace is not something external to be found, but an internal state to be nurtured daily. The Bible encourages perseverance, reminding us that endurance produces character, and character strengthens our hope. James 1:04 teaches that steadfastness brings about maturity, making us complete and whole. This means that every challenge, every setback, and every difficult moment is an opportunity for growth. We do not reach peace by avoiding hardships, but by facing them with a spirit of calm and resilience. Life will always present difficulties, and waiting for everything to be perfect before we allow ourselves to be at peace is an illusion. Instead, we must learn to walk through storms without letting them shake the foundation of our inner being. One of the most common misconceptions about peace is that it requires eliminating all stress, conflict, and uncertainty. But real peace is not about escaping difficulties. It is about learning to remain unshaken despite them. Many people search for peace in external circumstances, believing that if they can just fix their environment, relationships, or career, then they will finally be at ease. However, this approach often leads to disappointment because life is unpredictable. Circumstances are constantly changing, and if our peace depends on everything going our way, we will always be at the mercy of external forces. True peace is built from the inside out, independent of what happens around us. The journey toward peace requires discipline and intentionality. Just as an athlete trains daily to strengthen their body, We must train our minds and spirits to remain calm and steady. This means actively choosing not to react impulsively to frustration, refusing to dwell on negativity, and committing to a mindset of trust rather than fear. It is easy to be peaceful when everything is going well, but the true test comes in moments of uncertainty, pressure, and adversity. Developing inner peace means preparing ourselves in advance so that when life becomes difficult, we are already rooted in strength and stability. Faith plays a critical role in sustaining inner peace. When we trust in God's plan, we no longer feel the need to control everything. We begin to understand that even when things do not go according to our expectations, they are unfolding according to a greater wisdom. This trust does not mean passively accepting everything that happens, but rather having the confidence to face life with courage, knowing that we are not alone. Isaiah 26:3 reminds us that God will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in Him. When we cultivate this trust, we experience a level of peace that surpasses understanding, one that remains intact even in the face of uncertainty. Every step forward in our journey toward peace is significant, even if it feels small. There will be days when we struggle, when we feel overwhelmed or discouraged, but every time we choose peace over anxiety, patience over frustration, and faith over doubt, we strengthen our ability to remain calm in the future. The journey is not about perfection, it is about progress. Each moment presents a choice, to react in fear or to respond with faith. Over time, these small choices accumulate, shaping us into people who are no longer easily shaken by life's challenges. As we grow in peace, we begin to see how it transforms not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. A person who carries peace within them has a calming effect on others. Just as anxiety and stress are contagious, so too is peace. When we interact with others from a place of inner stability, we inspire them to do the same. This is why cultivating peace is not just for ourselves, but for our families, communities, and the world as a whole. We become reflections of God's presence, showing that true peace is possible even in a world filled with chaos. Ultimately, inner peace is not a goal we check off a list, but a way of life. It is a journey of continuous refinement, where we grow stronger, more resilient, and more aligned with God's purpose for us. There will always be challenges, but with each difficulty we overcome, our capacity for peace deepens. The question is not whether we will face struggles, but how we will choose to respond to them. Will we allow them to rob us of our joy, or will we use them as opportunities to grow in faith and resilience? The journey toward peace is lifelong, but every step brings us closer to the unwavering calm that God desires for us. We are called to live in peace, not as a fleeting state of mind, but as a powerful declaration of faith. True peace is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to remain unshaken despite it. It is a reflection of our trust in God, an unwavering confidence that no matter what happens around us, we are secure in His plan. Living without worry and without being controlled by circumstances is not just a comforting idea, it is an act of faith. It is choosing to believe that God's wisdom is greater than our own and that His guidance will never fail us. When we cultivate inner peace, we become a light in the world. Matthew 5:14 reminds us that we are called to be the light of the world, shining in the darkness. This light is not just about spreading knowledge or encouragement. It is about embodying peace in a world that is often filled with fear and uncertainty. The presence of a peaceful person is powerful. It calms those around them, bringing clarity and reassurance in difficult times. People who cultivate peace are not easily swayed by external chaos. They stand firm, their foundation rooted in trust, their minds undisturbed by fleeting troubles. Developing and maintaining this state of peace is not something that happens overnight. It is a journey that requires daily practice and commitment. Every day presents us with new opportunities to strengthen our ability to remain calm, to react with wisdom instead of fear, to choose patience over frustration. Peace is a discipline. Just as a musician must practice daily to master their instrument, we must train ourselves to respond with faith instead of anxiety. This means guarding our thoughts, being mindful of what we allow to take root in our hearts, and constantly reminding ourselves of God's promises. Philippians 4:6. Philippians 4 tells us to present our concerns to God with thanksgiving, and in doing so, we will experience a peace that surpasses all understanding. One of the greatest obstacles to peace is our own tendency to focus on what we cannot control. We worry about the future, about what people think of us, about outcomes that are beyond our reach. But Jesus tells us not to be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will take care of itself. When we shift our focus from fear to faith, from control to trust, we begin to experience true freedom. This does not mean we stop making plans or taking responsibility for our lives, but it does mean that we no longer let fear dictate our emotions. Instead, we move forward with the assurance that God is with us in every step. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to put this into practice. When things do not go according to our plans, we can either react in frustration, or we can remind ourselves that God's plan is always greater. Isaiah 55, 8-9 tells us that His ways are higher than ours, His understanding beyond our comprehension. This means that even when we do not see the full picture, we can trust that everything is working for our good. Romans 8:28 reinforces this truth, reminding us that all things work together for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Living in peace does not mean avoiding difficulties. It means facing them with a heart that is anchored in faith. There will always be moments when we are tested, times when it feels easier to react with fear or frustration. But each time we choose peace, we strengthen our ability to remain unshaken. Over time, peace becomes not just something we experience occasionally, but something that defines how we live. It becomes our natural response, our resting state, the foundation from which we operate. This is why every day is an opportunity to practice and refine our inner resilience. There will be days when we struggle, when we feel overwhelmed or lose our sense of calm. But the key is to return to the truth, to remind ourselves that peace is always available to us through faith. Each small victory in choosing peace over worry builds a stronger foundation for the future. The more we practice, the more it becomes second nature. Eventually, we find ourselves no longer easily disturbed by things that once would have shaken us. We become the kind of people who bring peace wherever we go, offering stability in a world that desperately needs it. We are called to peace, not just for our own sake, but for the sake of others. A peaceful heart influences everything around it. It affects our relationships, our decisions, and our ability to navigate life's challenges with clarity and wisdom. When we cultivate peace, we reflect the nature of God to those around us. We become living examples of what it means to trust in something greater than ourselves. This is why peace is not just a personal pursuit, but a calling. It is part of our purpose, a way for us to demonstrate God's love in a tangible way. As we continue on this journey, we must remember that peace is not something we arrive at and then forget about. It is something we renew daily, something we build upon with each experience. There will be setbacks, moments when we struggle, but the key is to keep going. The process of developing inner peace is much like building a strong foundation. It takes time, patience, and commitment, but in the end it creates a life that is not easily shaken, a heart that remains steady in the face of uncertainty. So how will you respond today? Will you allow circumstances to dictate your peace, or will you choose to stand firm in faith? Will you reflect God's light in a world that needs it, or will you let worry and fear hold you back? The choice is yours, and in that choice lies the power to transform not only your life, but the lives of those around you. Peace is a gift, but it is also a responsibility. Let us embrace it fully, walking forward each day with the assurance that no matter what comes our way, we are held securely in the hands of God. The journey to finding inner peace is not an easy one, but it is one of the most worthwhile pursuits in life. True peace does not come from the absence of problems, but from learning how to remain steady in the face of them. The world around us is filled with uncertainty, chaos, and moments of difficulty, but what truly matters is how we respond. We may not have control over every situation, but we always have control over our own thoughts, emotions, and actions. Every day we are given a choice: to be ruled by our fears and worries, or to stand firm in faith and trust in God's plan. Choosing peace is not a one-time decision, but a lifelong commitment. It requires discipline, patience, and a willingness to grow. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when frustration takes hold, and when we feel like giving up. But those are the very moments that shape us. Those are the times when we have the opportunity to strengthen our faith, to build resilience, and to prove to ourselves that peace is not dependent on circumstances, but on the foundation we have built within. Each challenge we face is not meant to break us, but to refine us, to make us stronger and wiser. As we develop this inner strength, we not only transform our own lives, but also become a source of light and encouragement for those around us. A person who carries peace within them influences their surroundings in ways they may not even realize. When we approach life with calmness and faith, we inspire others to do the same. Our families, our communities, and even strangers we encounter can feel the difference when we embody peace. This is why maintaining a strong and unwavering spirit is not just for our benefit. It is a calling, a way to serve and uplift others. You are stronger than you know. You have the ability to overcome every obstacle that comes your way. No matter what challenges you are facing, remember that you are not alone. God is with you, guiding you, strengthening you, and preparing you for something greater. Keep moving forward, keep believing, and keep trusting. The struggles of today are building the strength you will need for tomorrow. Do not allow fear, doubt, or negativity to hold you back. Stand firm, walk in faith, and embrace the peace that surpasses all understanding. You are destined to rise above every difficulty and emerge victorious. If this message has inspired you, take a moment to support this channel by clicking the like button and subscribing. If you are new here, we welcome you to join this journey of faith and personal growth. Leave a comment below with 777 to let us know you are part of this community, a place where we grow together in understanding, faith, and purpose. Share your thoughts, your experiences, and how God is working in your life. Let us continue to uplift and encourage one another. The path to inner peace is a journey worth taking, and together we will walk forward with strength, faith, and unwavering determination.